The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, when a lingerie designer who appears to have it all is found bludgeoned to death with a sex paddle, police suspect she could be the victim of an intruder. But when they learn her life isn't as rosy as it seems, they'll do whatever it takes to get the case all sewn up.
Francine? Francine? God, Francine. Francine. It's me, Ty. Francine, wake up.
Not exactly the Monday morning Ty envisioned when he came to visit his good friend Francine.
I need help, please. Hurry.
When lead investigator Detective Lopez arrives at the crime scene, he notices Francine has been beaten to death with a sex paddle.
Over the hundreds of cases I worked with the FBI, I learned that whenever you see something like a victim killed by a bedroom toy or in a state of undress, you have to at least consider the possibility that you're looking at a sex game that went wrong. If that's the case, Francine's killer would have had sexual contact with her. And that means the best option for finding him is to pull DNA from something he left behind. Oh, come on, let's just say it. I'm talking about semen. And looking at the state of this bed, there's a lot to choose from. Still less than most hotel rooms, though, seriously. After years of seeing hotel rooms checked with UV light, I would never sleep on those sheets, which is how I've ended up as that weird old guy who travels around with his own linens.
Hello?
Who is this? And why answer my wife's phone?
This is Detective Lopez, and if your wife is Francine, there's been an incident.
Alistair, Francine's husband, is out of town on his annual hunting trip with his frat buddies. 10 years ago, that's how he and Francine first met. It would change Francine's life forever.
Hey, you must be Alistair.
Hi, yeah.
Francine.
Francine?
Yeah, Tim invited me over for the weekend.
You hunt?
No.
At first, Francine wants nothing to do with Alistair. But Alistair is more than a little intrigued by her. Back at university, he works hard to win her over, and the two soon become friends, with benefits.
Looks great, babe. You should try to sell it.
Oh, no one would buy my stuff.
Of course they would. You're a great designer.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet.
And before long, Francine and Alistair jump into a full-on relationship. They spend the rest of college joined at the hip. When they graduate, they tie the knot.
Okay, wait, you can put it down.
The newlyweds work hard to build a life together and make their dreams come true.
I love you.
I love you too.
Francine launches a high-end lingerie line, while Alistair decides to write the next great American novel.
At first, Francine and Alistair are young and in love. But over the years, their lives become less Leave It to Beaver and more Desperate Housewives. When Francine hits the big time and there's still no novel in sight, Alistair's fragile man ego is shattered. He decides the best thing to do is enjoy Francine's underwear and the big bucks it brings into their bank account.
Babe, leave me your credit card. There's this awesome jet ski I've been wanting to check out.
Really? The motorcycle wasn't enough?
Well, Francine spends long hours running her company.
Gotta go.
Thanks, babe. You're the best.
Yeah.
Alistair lives like a king, sleeping until noon, regular spa days, and treating his frat buddies to scotch tastings and cigars. As Alistair rushes back to the city, Detective Lopez turns to Francine's body for answers about when she got her deadly paddling.
Getting a solid time of death is vital in a homicide case, because once you have that, you can start checking alibis and narrowing in on suspects. So when did Francine die? Her limbs are stiff but not rigid, so I'm thinking she's been dead maybe 24 to 48 hours, which means she would have been killed between late Friday night to midday on Sunday. Talk about your rough weekend.
But when the DNA results come in, they show all traces of semen belong to Alistair.
Well, those results don't help us get any more answers. Unless, of course, your question is how virile Alistair happens to be.
My wife meant everything to me, Detective. You better find the guy that did this to her. Here. Thanks.
No problem.
Alistair tells police the last time he saw Francine was right before he left on his annual frat reunion hunting trip. And everything was more than fine between them.
Looking for this?
Yes, I was. I love you. Woo! Instead of wasting your time talking to me, you should be interviewing Ty.
Excuse me?
He was her lover after all.
Sorry, Ty?
Okay, we've got lingerie, a sex paddle, and now a lover. Is this a case or an episode of Dynasty?
Alistair reveals to police that his wife Francine was having a fling with her friend Ty.
I've been slaving since September with my nose to a book. I missed 100 mamacitas cause I ain't got time to look. So when my bros called me up, I didn't have
But while Francine was seeing Ty on the side, she wasn't cheating. They were all part of a swingers club. Drop your keys in the fishbowl and pick up anybody else's you want to go home with.
So it turns out that Alistair and Francine had an open marriage. Translation, they could see who they wanted to see on the side, but the deal was that any side relationships had to stay light and be focused only on sex, not on intimacy, because your spouse banging a stranger is cool, but cuddling afterwards? Oh, no. That is over the line.
Over the years, Francine has developed a whole set of rules for their engagements, but Alistair is less than willing to follow them.
I get that rules are supposed to protect against jealousy, but you really can't control emotions like that. At least I don't think you can. I mean, it's not like I have firsthand experience swinging. I mean, clearly, I'm way too straight-laced for that. I mean, I'm blushing just talking about all this. Are we done?
Hey, babe.
Babe? I don't want to do this anymore. I just want it to be just the two of us again.
Francine decides it's time to trade swinging for a swing set.
I want to try having a baby.
Of course, honey. Anything for you. You know that. Yeah, my wife and I had an open relationship. It was an agreement we had. But when we closed the marriage, Ty got all weird about it. He didn't take it too well. Guys like Ty don't get a lot of women, so they get weirdly attached. You understand that, right, Detective?
I'm not agreeing with Alistair's logic, but I am with him that Ty needs to be looked at as a suspect. Okay, let's face it. He found the body, which already makes him a person of interest. And he used to sleep with the victim, which makes him more interesting. All that is more than enough to interview him, no matter how good he is or isn't at picking up women.
I would never hurt Francine. I adored her.
Ty claims he took Francine out for Chinese food on Friday, but just as friends. Then he dropped her off at home around 1 and headed straight out to a weekend retreat.
What is it that you do on the retreat?
I LARP.
Sorry, you LARP?
Live action role play.
Oh.
I'm a swashbuckling pirate.
You're a pirate. Drink up, mateys.
Live-action role-play is like computer gaming, only more dorky. Players create characters, then get together to portray them for hours or weekends at a time, all in the hope of gaining fake acclaim and admiration. So it's like The Suburbs, but with dragons instead of nosy neighbors.
How did you make out?
Well, I was very close to getting the bounty chest, but Stubby Pete, my friend, got there before I did.
Sorry, your friend Stubby Pete?
Yeah, he has a peg leg.
Oh, Stubby Pete?
The alibi may be odd, but it's solid. With over 50 people at the event, including site security, there's very little chance that Ty could sneak away to kill Francine. With Ty ruled out as a suspect, and the images of the scratches on Alistair's neck still fresh in his mind, Detective Lopez looks more closely at Alistair's alibi.
I'm just following up on an investigation on your dad's friend, Alistair.
He questions Vanessa, daughter of Alistair's frat buddy Tim, who was hosting the hunting trip weekend.
He said he was here recently?
Yeah. Alistair was up at the cabin with my dad and their friends, like, all weekend. He came over, he was here on Friday, and they drove up together.
Friday now. Do you remember specifically what time on Friday?
Like around 5:30. I remember because he was making this big deal out of a movie that was on TV.
Hey, we're gonna leave now.
Okay, bye, Dad.
I'm gonna let off.
Awesome. All right. Icebox. Great movie. I caught this one last night.
Detective Lopez finally gets a break from the most unexpected source.
But you know what was super weird about that movie?
What's that?
So the whole thing was about this husband who kills his wife. And like a few days later, Francine is dead.
I don't know if I'd call that weird, and I certainly don't believe in coincidences. What I do believe in is good police work, and I'd be chasing down this connection because it could prove to be a solid lead.
When Detective Lopez watches Icebox, the movie Alistair was raving about before leaving town, he discovers that the husband not only kills his wife, but gets away with the crime by blasting the air conditioning in the house, distorting his victim's supposed time of death.
Thanks for coming back.
Detective Lopez calls Ty down to the station for another interview, but he only has one question in mind.
When you discovered the body, how cold was it? What was the temperature like?
Well, when I got there, the bedroom door was closed. The air conditioner was on full blast, so it was freezing. And I turned the AC off.
Time of death is usually calculated based on factors like rigor mortis. But when a body is in the cold, rigor mortis can be delayed by hours, or if the temperature is below freezing, even days.
Police thought Francine was killed between late Friday and late Saturday. But once you factor in the temperature of the room, you have to roll the time of death back. And we know she had lunch with Ty at 1 on Friday. But any time after that is in play. Now the question is, was she killed before Alistair left town, making him a viable suspect or not?
Detective Lopez comes up with an unorthodox way to ascertain Francine's true time of death.
Most people don't realize that the stomach stops working almost immediately after a victim dies. So whatever they just ate is basically preserved in their stomachs after death.
Francine still had Chinese food in her stomach from her 1 o'clock lunch with Ty. The stomach takes a maximum of 8 hours to digest food. So Francine's time of death must be somewhere between 1 and 9 p.m. on Friday.
But the only way to prove that is to establish how many hours it takes for the same Chinese food to get as digested as the contents of Francine's stomach. And the only way to do that is to eat the same food as Francine and then throw it up at regular intervals until there's a match. And you know what that means? It means this case is about to get gross. And that right there is why criminals should never underestimate law enforcement, because we'll do whatever it takes to crack a case. The whole situation may seem bizarre, but it works. The food matches at 4 hours, which means Francine was killed right around 5 p.m. That gives Alistair just enough time to have committed the murder, then driven over to Tim's house. I know it's rude to eat and run, but what about kill and run? That's gotta be worse.
A year after Francine's death, Detective Lopez's case against Alistair has gone cold. But then, Tim's daughter comes forward.
So, the night that Alistair came over?
With a confession that cracks the case wide open.
Hey, Francine.
Yeah? Yeah, I'm gonna miss you too.
She realized Alistair
We'll talk first thing in the morning.
was speaking to the dial tone.
Okay?
Yeah, I love you. Yeah, okay, bye.
The only reason to fake a call like that is if you know someone's dead, but you want to make everyone else think they're still alive. And the only person who would want to do that is a killer trying to shore up his alibi. Alistair thinks he's smart enough to trick everyone around him, like he's so evil genius. But someone ought to tell him he's more Homer Simpson than Hannibal Lecter.
Detective Lopez finally has all he needs to charge Alistair with Francine's murder.
All the evidence points to you. You're under arrest for the murder of your wife.
Right. I killed my wife, the woman I was happily married to, because that makes sense.
All right, let's get going. Come on, Buttercup. Let's go.
He's not wrong. The lack of obvious motive means the case isn't a slam dunk, and Alistair's now rich enough to lawyer up with the best team possible.
At trial, the truth of Francine and Alistair's relationship comes pouring out.
Want to go again?
Oh, yeah.
Get out of my house. Get out!
Are you...
What is this?
It was the same as before. I don't understand why it's a big...
Because I want to change.
Okay.
I wanted things
Why don't we calm
differently.
down?
I left Ty and we talked about this. You said that was good. You said whatever you want.
I said what I thought
Then
you
what-
wanted to hear, okay? Is that what you want? I don't want a baby. It's not about you. It's my life, too. I like my life the way it was.
Francine designed lingerie, but Alistair's the one with a pattern. While he agreed to close his marriage, he continued seeing his girlfriends on the side.
What is it about? I thought it was about us.
It is about us.
Then
Why can't we do
then
both?
Why does she have to be here? What do you want? What do you want from me? I give you everything. For
You
you.
know what? This...
When Francine confronted Alistair about his cheating, he became violent, and she decided it was time to leave.
I don't want this.
What do you want, then?
I want a divorce.
God damn it!
Alistair knew that if Francine went, her money and his playboy lifestyle went with her. So he decided he couldn't afford to let her go, at least not alive.
Get my shirt. What are you wearing that for?
Don't worry, it's not for you.
The air conditioning idea is actually a pretty good one, and it did confuse the police about Francine's time of death, at least for a while. But you know what isn't a good idea? Ripping your MO off from a movie that's playing on TV at the time. And then on top of that, blabbing about how you saw the film and you loved it. I'd say criminals should learn to zip it, but then it would make them harder to catch. So as far as I'm concerned, they can just keep on gabbing and keep on getting locked up.
Alistair is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole.
Like a little black dress, true love never goes out of style. But if you're with a man who treats women like fashion trends, picking them up and discarding them as he pleases, be careful. Because I promise you, no matter what he says, the only threesome he really cares about is me, myself, and I.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders,
Thanks, Daddy.
spoiled rich girl Paige manipulates her parents to do all her bidding. But when tragedy strikes, Paige's thirst for revenge will have her throwing a temper tantrum
Please, open up!
with deadly consequences. A high school senior, Paige is a straight-A student and head of the Daughter of the Lone Star State Cotillion Committee.
Something doesn't seem right.
The annual family portrait is something that wealthy socialite Giselle insists on, no matter how old her daughter Paige gets.
Oh, I can always count on you, Mommy. I love it. It's perfect.
Okay, ladies. Let's get this family portrait done.
Okay, Daddy.
Giselle had trouble getting pregnant and considers her daughter a miracle. Paige, in turn, adores her mother.
Hi, sweetie.
I told you that I needed the latest version of my phone, and you ignored me.
Nothing's good enough for her.
Giselle and her airline executive husband, Edward, are doting parents.
Doting, huh? Well, that's not so secret code for parents who spoil their kids. Love them, fine. But indulge their every whim, never say no, and give them a credit card? Well, don't be surprised if they turn into entitled little monsters.
We're sorry, honey.
Thanks, Daddy. Forgiven.
Every winter, Edward takes his two favorite ladies on a lavish holiday to an exotic locale. But this year's dream vacation to Rio de Janeiro turns into a nightmare. While enjoying a goji berry body wrap, Giselle died from what doctors believe was a sudden stroke.
Don't touch her.
Paige's entire world has been shaken to the core. She's about to turn 18, graduate high school, and move into the adulting phase of her life. Losing her mom is coming at a very pivotal time. How that plays out is the question. Some teenagers shut down while others act out. A lot of that is going to depend on Edward. Handing over the credit card may not be enough.
A few months after Giselle's death, Edward swipes right on lovecombustion.com and starts dating.
Back in my day, combustion created smoke, not love. At least most of the time.
Unbelievable.
I'm having such a good time with you.
I know what you're thinking. It's fast. Am I right? Well, there's an old saying when it comes to losing a spouse, women mourn, men replace. Don't blame me. I didn't make it up. I'm not saying that Edward is over losing Giselle, just saying guys deal better with stuff, not feelings. But tell that to his daughter.
Upset that her father has moved on from her mother's death so quickly, Paige does what she does best when she's angry. She gets even. Paige starts stealing from her father, staying out all night, and hanging out with a bad crowd.
What you want
have you been, Paige?
What do you care? Isn't Claire expecting you for brunch?
She has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, you're right. She doesn't. She's not the one who got married and forgot about it.
Do not talk to me that way, young lady.
You don't even seem sad that Mommy's gone. What, was this your plan the whole time? So that you could live out some sick and twisted fantasy of being some swinging bachelor?
You are out of line, and that's enough!
Leave me alone!
Ouch. Paige is taking her emotions out on Edward in more ways than one. The spoiled little girl has grown up. She used to throw tantrums to get her way. Now she throws kicks. Entitlement and anger management issues are a doozy of a combination.
Paige finds comfort in the arms of Trey, her new boyfriend. They spend hours texting one another.
Okay, Daddy, Trey's on his way over, and I can't wait for you to meet him. So be on your best behavior for me, okay? Hey.
Yo, what's up?
You're a bad influence on my daughter. That's what's up.
What? She's a grown woman.
Listen, you little shit.
Well, hey, man. Cool it, all right?
Mommy never treated my boyfriends like this. I was thinking about you.
Baby, you know I'm thinking about you all day.
You deserve something real nice.
Yo, where did you get the coin for that?
Daddy's credit card.
Doesn't look like Paige is under her boyfriend's bad influence. It seems like she's doing fine influencing herself.
Thanks, baby.
It looks amazing.
But when it comes to parents and their kids, nobody wants to believe the worst. And it's a whole lot easier to blame someone else, like a guy with a rap sheet, rather than your precious daughter.
The next day, Edward has a peace offering.
Paige, let's talk.
So talk.
Let's go away on a vacation to your favorite place on the beach. Remember, you had such a great time. I think we should do it again.
He wants to repair their relationship and has planned a trip to an exclusive resort in the Caribbean.
Okay, if you insist.
Just you and me.
So Edward is trying to get his baby girl away from the big bad boyfriend by reverting to old times. He's hoping a holiday together will help them heal their rift. Seriously, that ship has sailed. It's over the horizon. Paige doesn't look ready to forgive and forget. Sorry, Dad, you're not very good at reading the signs. Or should I say, emojis.
Paige has no plans to go away with her father and leave Trey behind. She steals Edward's credit card and books her boyfriend a first-class ticket.
Paige, we're only going for a week.
Oh, Daddy. You know I like to be prepared.
Edward hopes a vacation will help him and his rebellious daughter Paige reconnect after the sudden death of her mother. He's also intent on getting Paige away from her bad boy boyfriend.
I'm going out.
But they've barely checked in when Paige decides to go solo.
I thought we were going to spend some time together.
Daddy, don't rush me.
We're meeting for lunch.
Edward lets her go, but makes it clear he wants to spend some quality time with his daughter.
Baby.
Yo, this place is dope.
You ready?
Totally.
Is there an emoji for uh-oh? If not, there ought to be. I can't be certain what the text message means exactly, but it's safe to say these two kids are up to something, don't you think? Paige has anger issues and her boyfriend has been arrested for a weapons charge. If I were Edward, I'd siesta with one eye open.
Edward has been waiting for Paige for over half an hour, and she's a no-show.
What the hell is he doing here?
Well, I invited him courtesy of you, Daddy dearest.
While Edward is angry that Paige stole his credit card to book Trey a flight and a hotel room, he's more furious that she purposely hijacked their much-needed father-daughter getaway.
This trip was supposed to be about fixing our family.
Well, he is going to be a part of our family, Daddy.
Well, our poor little rich girl is just full of surprises. My guess is that this spur-of-the-moment proposal at the ripe old age of 17 is Paige's way of getting back at her father for moving on so fast. And what better way than marrying a boy your father disapproves of?
I hate him. I wish he died instead of her. My mother never gave me a hard time. This is all his fault.
Well, I mean, we could just get married.
I love it.
We're getting married whether you like it or not.
Absolutely out of the question.
You can't stop us.
If you disobey me, Missy, and marry this hustler, you're not gonna get one more cent from me.
How about a hug, Pops?
Yeah, right, buddy.
Obviously, Edward's never read a parenting blog. Making threats to a teenager, especially when you're angry, is not generally a wise idea. And Paige isn't exactly good with limits. Losing her mom has made her even more volatile. I have a feeling that this ultimatum is going to blow up in his face. How she'll retaliate is anybody's guess.
The next morning, it looks like Edward hasn't managed to tear Paige and Trey apart.
Hello? I need police.
It's not every day when you find a suitcase stuffed with a dead body instead of dirty socks. Island police need to track down Paige and her bad news boyfriend to figure out what happened to send Edward packing for good.
Police arrive at the resort to investigate Edward's murder and immediately search the hotel room. They discover an unopened bottle of bubbly. It's heavy enough to do more damage than just cause a severe hangover. And with a print left behind, they hope it leads them to the killer.
And it was just him and his daughter that came down together.
That's right.
When police try to locate his daughter Paige and her boyfriend Trey, none of the employees know their whereabouts. The Bahamian police scour the island looking for the couple. With Edward dead, it's possible Paige and Trey could also be victims. Police eventually receive the tip the couple has been spotted at a seedy motel.
Please, open up! Are you Paige and Trey?
Well, before I answer any questions, what business do you have barging in here? What about our privacy?
On your feet. Up.
As the last people to be seen with Edward, Paige and Trey are brought in for questioning.
So we're trying to get to the bottom of what happened to your father, Edward. I see that you checked in together, shared a room together. When was the last time you saw him?
Well, actually, it was
right before we got engaged.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
When police questioned Paige and Trey about Edward's murder, they claim to have no idea what happened. They tell police they left the resort early on Friday to get married.
But, ran into a little trouble.
Oh, yeah? What kind of trouble?
Well, I mean, walking down the street, and this guy comes up. He's asking us for money. There's a knife on us.
Not my phone! Not my phone!
Knocked that right out of his hand. I mean, no one hurts my girl.
Rich tourists off the resort are prime pickings for local criminals, so Trey's story sounds believable. If you believe he's a quick-thinking hero, or just quick-thinking, period. That's going to be a stretch, especially once the police find out he has a record and his prints are in the system.
Police run Trey's prints and discover they're a perfect match to the bloody fingerprint left on the champagne bottle. Even more damning is the surveillance footage from the hotel. When police put Paige in the hot seat, she plays it cool.
Is that me? The resolution could be better.
It's the same suitcase. Why'd you do it?
It was awful. I mean, we didn't mean for it to happen, but it all just happened so quickly.
Paige tells police it was an accident. She says that after their argument, she placed an order with room service.
Yes, 1 bottle of your most expensive champagne. Cristal, if you have it. No, thanks.
She says she was hoping her father would come around and toast their engagement.
Over my dead body, and you gonna marry her.
You're such a drama queen.
You want drama? I'll show you drama. You're crazy creep.
The next thing I know, he's lunging at me with a bottle of champagne.
She tells police that her father was so angry that he completely lost control.
Daddy, are you okay?
Paige claims that Trey didn't intend to kill Edward. He was just protecting her. But when they realized he was dead, they panicked because of Trey's prior criminal history. They knew it wouldn't look good on him. Once they ditched the suitcase, they took off.
And if it weren't for Trey, then who knows what would have happened. Can I have my phone back now?
If I'm reading this right, and I'm no emoji expert, but I'd say Paige is confident she's come clean, and it's just a matter of time before she can start planning the social event of the season, her wedding. Sorry to burst your bubble, Paige, but when it comes to a murder investigation, the cops don't call it a day after a so-called confession.
Police discover, upon the death of her father, Paige becomes the sole beneficiary to her mother's multi-million-dollar estate.
So Giselle was the one with the money in the marriage. Getting Daddy out of the way would mean a lot more money for Paige and nobody to enforce her curfew. And if past behavior is any indication, what Paige wants, Paige gets. When Trey marries her, he'd also reap the ill-begotten rewards, though he'd have to put up with all of her emojis. I mean emotions going into the marriage. Is Paige a grieving teenager caught up in a family drama, or is she a stone-cold killer who planned the ultimate payback for a big payout? Police need to find proof, or she and her fiancé could walk.
Police retrieve Paige and Trey's deleted cell phone correspondence going back a number of months.
Okay, man emoji, gun, scary skull, money bag. These are starting to make sense to me. That's scary that it does. But you don't have to be a millennial to figure out that these messages paint a pretty disturbing picture. They prove that Paige and Trey planned on killing Edward for the money. We have an emoji for that. It's a premeditation emoji.
She really hated him, man.
When the police confront Trey with the text message evidence, he breaks.
I mean, she was gonna give me this huge cut of the inheritance if I took out this hit.
You got played.
Turns out Paige's inheritance is actually only $5 million. Now that's not peanuts, but it still falls way short of her claim, and it buys her a lot fewer hairbands, that's for sure. It looks like Miss Emoji was the mastermind of this plan, but she convinced Mr. Gangsta Light to do the actual deed. And for that, I guarantee he'll be doing a long stint in a foreign prison.
Trey tells police what really happened that night. After the scene in the lobby, Edward and Paige had a talk.
Paige, you know, you're just too young to get married.
But Daddy, I've always been mature for my age. Okay, fine. So we'll have a long engagement. All the celebs do it. Yes, hi. I'll have a bottle of your most expensive champagne. Cristal, if you have it. No thanks.
Having put their bad blood behind them temporarily, Paige tells her father that the moment deserves a champagne toast. Paige's plan was simple. Trey and Paige are both charged and convicted of Edward's murder. They're both sentenced to 15 years in prison. During the trial, Paige shows no remorse for her father's murder, but true to form, she reveals all to the media via text message with a phone she sweet-talked from a fellow inmate.
Whoa, talk about emojis running high here. Allow me to translate. Paige claims her motive for killing her dad was revenge. Giselle's autopsy proved she died of a stroke, but in Paige's mind, her father killed her. And when he tried to end her relationship with Trey, in her mind, he became an evil monster. And for that, she was convinced he deserved to be punished. Kids might blame their parents for their unhappiness, but Paige crossed a line. She committed patricide, which isn't as uncommon as you may want to believe. So what do you think? Entitled rich kid who snapped after her mother's death, or a stone-cold sociopath? If you have any thoughts, text me. But no emojis, please.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, when a beloved matriarch disappears without a trace.
Why would she leave her car here?
Her family thinks something terrible has happened. But when investigators find no evidence of foul play,
This could be the answer.
her brother turns to an unconventional source for help. Will the gift of second sight lead to a revelation or bitter disappointment? Francine, the head of a family-run maple syrup business, hasn't been seen in 24 hours. Her car has been found abandoned, but no sign of Francine. The last anyone heard, she was drinking and playing the slots at the Palais de Folie.
Off to the casino, huh? Oh, well, why would she leave her car here?
She'd probably had a few and called a boyfriend to pick her up before getting on the highway. It's happened before. I'll drive it back to my place. Merci, Inspector.
Francine and her family have been in the maple syrup business for generations. She's made a small fortune through hard work and keeping her people close. Her younger brother, Antoine, runs the day-to-day operations.
Let's see what the LeBeaus have to say about these numbers, huh?
And keeps the peace with local rivals and politicians.
Don't forget your syrup. Don't put it all on one set of pancakes, eh? Yes.
Robert, Francine's nephew, didn't quite inherit the family's knack for the business.
Merde!
And he can't afford to lose a drop of product. Despite his best efforts,
Tabarouette!
his sugar bush just isn't yielding enough sap to meet Francine's strict family quota.
Come on! What was that, huh?
You can't even skate!
It's a raucous family, but Francine runs it like she runs her business.
So we put it on! Come on! That good, Toronto!
Why don't you set it to get me another Ryan Ginger?
We.
There's no doubt about who's in charge.
Hurry up, Antoine!
Yeah, hurry up.
I'm coming!
It may look all joie de vivre, but you don't need to be a cop to know that every family has simmering tensions below the surface. You see, Francine is head of the family and boss of the family business. They all depend on her for their jobs. And Francine's a tough coach. You didn't bring in your syrup quota? Penalty. Get lippier out of line? Benched. Maybe for good.
What are you doing now?
Oh, come on, man!
So everyone's just a little bit afraid of old Francine.
Francine works hard, but she plays just as hard. She's famous for having a good time. Her week-long benders are legendary. A blur of rye, men, any luck? And money.
Inspector! Inspector!
Francine has now been gone for 3 days, and her brother Antoine thinks something's wrong.
You know Francine, huh? My sister...
The night her car was found, she was supposed to meet him for some poutine and business talk.
I wait there for hours, she not show up. I've been calling her for 3 days now.
She no answer, nothing.
So, Antoine, so she may be out just having a good time and she forgot to call home. I mean, what makes you think something bad has happened to her?
You don't understand, Inspector. She calls always. She cannot make it for dinner, let alone gone for 3 days. Not so much as hello, I'm safe.
Antoine, you know your sister. She has the reputation. She likes to party a lot.
Oui.
She doesn't come home sometimes. We all know that. Look, sooner or later, she'll come to her senses and she'll come home. Antoine, if I hear anything, I'll call you. All right?
So here we have a lady who really knows how to sin and who's gone MIA before. The thing is, if you're a grown-up, it isn't against the law to drop out of sight and get your family all worried. Most of the time, nothing has even gone down. When I was at the Bureau, we only designated maybe 15% of all missing persons cases as involuntary, as in kidnapped or killed. Sometimes people just want to get away from it all, and there's nothing you or the cops can do.
A week after Antoine reports his sister missing, a newspaper article grabs his attention.
Hello? This could be the answer.
A bank teller in Montreal named Alice recently led police to a missing child she'd seen on TV. She claims she can tune into someone's whereabouts if she sees a picture of them. But not everyone in Francine's family is as enthusiastic as Antoine.
Psychics are full of merde.
What do we have to lose, eh? She found that boy, we?
Antoine sends Alice a photograph of Francine, as well as some of her personal belongings. Using these items, Alice tunes into Francine.
Hey, babe. Hey, babe. How's it going?
She comes out of her trance with a cryptic message.
This is Alice. Do the letters CRK mean anything to you?
Alice, those are the letters on Francine's license plate. How did you know that?
I got a vision. I think I can help you find her. Have a good day.
Antoine is so impressed with Alice's vision, he buys her a bus ticket to Laurierville.
Alice.
Antoine.
Bonjour.
It's a pleasure.
As an investigator who deals in nothing but the facts, ma'am, I cringe, and I mean I really cringe when these people enter the picture. They're usually in it for the attention and the money. But even I have to admit that Alice doesn't seem like your typical psychic. First of all, she works at a bank, not a strip mall. No crystal balls, no flowing robes, no 1-800 number, and oh yeah, she doesn't charge for her services. Like I said, she's not your typical psychic. And if it gives you hope, why not? Just beware.
Having no luck when they went to where Francine's car was found, Alice's next stop is Robert's Sugar Shack.
Francine is leaving us a trail of clues. She's telling me to come here. We must follow the mystic breadcrumbs.
Oh! I've been it!
You're not looking for a missing person. You're looking for a body. Francine's been brutally murdered.
It's an impressive performance, but it's not a surprise because that's what psychics do. They ham it up and explain away anything they're wrong about by saying their insights are open to interpretation. Alice could be making a calculated guess about what happened to Francine. It's what we call cold reading your audience, and it can be pretty convincing. But guesswork or not, the fact is, Francine's still missing and the family needs answers. And you gotta wonder, is Alice taking them all for a ride, a cruel ride, or could this psychic actually be on the right path?
With no evidence of foul play in Francine's disappearance, the police say their hands are tied. But armed with Alice's shocking psychic vision, Antoine tries once again to convince them to investigate.
Look, without any evidence, my hands are tied.
There may not be any hard evidence, but Alice's visions point to something bad happening.
I saw it clear as day, Inspector. Someone has blood on their hands.
Uh-huh. These are those magic visions, right? Okay.
It makes sense, Inspector. That explains why Francine never came home that night.
So does a few Ryan Gingers.
Maybe it was a competitor. You know, Francine has been feuding with that no-good idiot Leblanc over his price fixing.
Okay, I'll look into it. But, and no disrespect, lady, go easy on the hocus pocus.
I must go wherever my visions lead me, Inspector.
All right, let's hear about those visions.
We were in a sugar shack when I had the vision.
You can't really blame the cops in a situation like this. I mean, if we treated every hunch, opinion, whim, or especially a psychic vision as a credible lead, we'd be too busy following up on junk to catch anyone. It's not that we don't feel for the family, we do. It's just that our job is to follow the evidence.
Ouais, c'est Boucher. Je veux confirmer que Leblanc, là, il était-il au...
When Inspector Boucher looks into the alibi of Francine's rival LeBlanc, it checks out.
Chartrand, lui. OK. Non, c'est tout pour l'instant. Merci beaucoup.
He was at the local maple syrup festival.
Ah oui, c'est beau. Merci.
Inspector Boucher then tries to track Francine's movements through her bank and phone records. He's stymied.
Now, Francine, où êtes-vous? Just sober up and come home already. Make my life easier.
Francine is so old-fashioned, she doesn't have a cell phone and always carries a lot of cash. And there's just no way to keep track of her whereabouts. The next day, determined to solve the mystery, Alice, Antoine, and Robert go back to his sugar shack.
I can feel her presence. Is this new?
I spilled some syrup the other day. I cleaned it up. It happens all the time.
Francine. She's here.
Robert's had enough of Alice and her visions and orders her back to Montreal. Alice reluctantly agrees. But before she leaves, she pays a visit to Antoine.
I did want to let you know. I feel like Robert knows more than he's letting on.
He has been acting weird ever since you got here. Like you spooked him when you were drawn to his sugar shack. You don't think Robert had anything to...
Just keep an eye on him.
Oui.
So Psychic Alice has been sent packing like a crystal ball rubbing busybody, and still no one knows if Francine's fallen victim to anything more serious than a bad hangover.
Robert.
But Antoine needs to believe that Alice's visions could actually reveal the truth about Francine. She's his only hope. But as they say, hope for the best, plan for the worst.
The police have uncovered no leads as to Francine's whereabouts, and the case is stalling. But Francine's brother Antoine refuses to give up. The police finally have to admit that she's been gone too long to simply be on a boozing binge.
You had to drop Le Puck into the game for real. Now, Inspector, something terrible has happened to Francine. I can feel it. Why would she just take off and let her business go down the tube, huh? It don't make no sense.
Antoine fills the inspector in on Alice's suspicions about Robert and his own.
He hides out in his sugar shack, doing nothing. Doesn't even seem to care that Francine is missing. I'm telling you, Alice is right. Robert, he knows something.
100 miles away in Montreal, Alice continues to be tormented by the visions of violence.
Oui, hello?
To Alice's surprise, it's Inspector Boucher. He says the case has gone cold and he'll take any help he can get.
I'll be in Laurierville as soon as I can. You have to take me seriously. When I
Back in Laurierville, things immediately get heated between Alice and Robert.
somebody important in your life.
What is she even doing here? Caliste Sacrament.
I had another vision. I think I know what happened to Francine.
What? Abduction by aliens? Bigfoot, peut-être? Maybe call Mulder a Scully.
You see, Inspector? He's acting très bizarre.
All right, look, if you want, I'll ask Robert to take a polygraph test. But you'll have to take one too.
Ben oui.
Inspector, I think I know what happened.
All in good time, madame.
Roll your eyes if you want, but even if we think they're full of, merde, psychics can serve a purpose. They don't solve anything, but if they reassure the family, then they're a useful tool in the investigative toolbox. Why? They keep the family off your back.
As Antoine passes his test with flying colors, there's no sign of Robert.
Polygraphs are another tool in our arsenal. The purpose of a poly isn't just to detect if someone's lying, it's to point out inconsistencies in their story. If someone refuses to outright take one, it looks fishy, but if someone says they'll do it and then backs out, well, that's a huge red flag, and Robert is now on Boucher's radar.
Do you know where Robert is?
Monsieur Inspecteur, now may I show you what I saw? That is where you will find Francine's body.
That is the lightning tree. It's a few miles up the road. It was struck by lightning at 95.
Alice's drawing is of a place only locals would know about. Even Inspector Boucher has to admit that Alice's latest vision is worth checking out.
Alice hasn't quite won over the skeptical investigator, but she's got his attention. More importantly for Boucher, Robert's just shined a light on himself by blowing off a lie detector test. So Boucher comes up with a plan. If he plays Alice and Robert off against each other, maybe Robert will reveal what, if anything, he knows about Francine's disappearance.
You were supposed to be at the polygraph. You never showed up.
When the inspector questions Robert about why he skipped the polygraph,
I forgot. I'm sorry. Can I reschedule? I have things to do today, but perhaps later the week, tomorrow.
I'll tell you what. Why don't I drive you to the station right now?
but instead of going to police headquarters, Inspector Boucher drives Robert out of town and confronts him at the place Alice saw in her vision. The place where she says they'll find Francine.
Keep going.
Qu'est-ce que c'est? What is this?
Does this look familiar to you?
No. I have never seen this place.
Lies. Antoine, start digging.
No! Stop! Stop!
Whatever this place is, it has a dramatic effect on Robert. He breaks down and begs to be taken to police headquarters.
I have something to tell you. Let's go.
Robert, back there you said you had something to say. So why don't you start talking?
I didn't mean to do anything. It just happened. I panicked. Merde.
Take your time, Robert.
Robert tells Inspector Boucher that he'd been stealing syrup from Francine for months and selling it on the black market.
Remember, maple syrup is liquid gold in this part of the world. Stealing it is kind of like tapping into a whiskey distillery in Scotland. It's a very big deal.
Selling to other people! You think I wouldn't notice your fisty foot? Tout est fini, fini! You'll never see another dime from me, cochon.
Look, you don't cross someone like Francine. Besides the money, she's gonna banish Robert from the family forever. She'll take everything from him and leave him alone in the gutter, a total disgrace. That'd make anyone snap.
Yeah! Oh no. Merde!
After killing Francine, Robert realized he had to come up with a believable story to explain her disappearance. With Francine's body hidden away, he drives her car to a spot where he knows the police will find it and places himself there to deflect suspicion.
Robert didn't intend to murder Francine. It's what we call an impulse kill. But those are not random. There's intense passion, a buildup of anger or jealousy that explodes when someone's reached their limit. And Robert had clearly reached his.
I thought you'd never suspect.
Robert thought he bought himself some time when the police assumed Francine was at the casino, where she spends most Friday nights.
But then, that witch shows up. I thought the license plate thing was just a coincidence, but then she saw my sugar shack.
Here.
Even though he assumed all psychics were scam artists, when Alice claimed she knew Francine had been murdered, Robert got scared that somehow she knew he killed her.
Oh!
Maybe it was a competitor. You know, Francine has been feuding with that no-good idiot Le
He told Inspector Boucher to look into Francine's competitor as a desperate distraction. When Alice sensed where Robert had hidden Francine in the sugar shack, he panicked and moved the body before they could find it. Robert thought he outmaneuvered Alice, but he still couldn't shake the feeling she could see right through him. He started to crack, and the only solution was to get Alice out of the picture.
Psychic or no psychic, Robert still has one small problem. Eventually, the cops get wise to the casino story, and then, surprise, Alice is back in town and breathing down his neck. The truth is closing in on him from all sides.
I don't know how she knows these things. I don't care. Just keep her away from me.
Okay, Robert. You're under arrest. Stand up, please.
His plan was to take over Francine's sugar bush until it became clear Francine wouldn't be coming back. Eventually, she'd be declared legally dead, and he'd stand to inherit it and part of the family fortune.
I've heard a lot of confessions, but this one's in a class of its own. Most people fess up because they know you've got enough evidence to put them away, and they want to cop a plea deal. Robert, on the other hand, gives it up because he's scared witless, not of cops, but of a psychic. Oh, that's beautiful. Even Alice didn't see that one coming.
Francine's body is recovered near the lightning tree, exactly where Alice said it would be.
Am I gonna win?
Au revoir, spectacle.
Alice goes back to Montreal, her first murder case wrapped up. She's on her way to a new career as a psychic detective. The word psychic is never mentioned in Inspector Boucher's report. She's simply referred to as a confidential informant. But her involvement helps put Robert away for 30 years.
How did she know? How did she know?
Not something you hear about every day, is it? A psychic tipping the scales in a murder investigation. Cops and clairvoyants, yeah, strange bedfellows. And don't get me wrong, we do not make a habit of reading tea leaves. But sometimes, just sometimes, you catch a break in a case that's so out of left field, you wonder if there's something more to police work than gathering hard evidence. I mean, we investigators follow our instincts all the time. Is that so different from what a psychic like Alice does? We sweat our suspects, and Alice certainly put a cold sweat on Robert. He just couldn't take it anymore. You might say he got tapped out. I can't explain how she did it. I deal with the law of the land, not the laws of the universe. But whether you're a believer or a skeptic, one thing's for sure, justice will catch up to you, one way or another.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, animal lover Lester can't get enough of adopting strays. But when he brings the wrong one home for the holidays,
Big Daddy don't like your tone.
His beloved bird
What's the matter with that thing?
will point his claw, nailing a killer. By day, good old boy Lester is the head of a local roofing crew. But when he's off the clock, he lives for country music, Adam Sandler movies, and cake decorating.
All right. Come and get it.
Lester has many passions, but people aren't one of them. For the most part, he's a loner who'd rather spend his time with the many stray animals he's adopted, which he refers to as his pookies.
Bon appetit.
Over my many cases at the FBI, I found that a lot of loners develop close relationships with animals. That's because loners avoid people for a reason. Anxiety, childhood trauma, things like that. But with animals, all that disappears. It's just about loving your pookies and them loving you right back.
Come on in, Anna.
When one of Lester's friends gets married to a man with bird allergies, she's forced to give up her lovebird.
He's so precious. Hey there. My new little Pookie.
Lester gets another Pookie to add to his menagerie.
Thanks, Anna. I'm gonna call you Big Daddy.
Named after his favorite Adam Sandler movie, of course.
Hey, look what I brung for you.
Lester and Big Daddy quickly bond. Lester enjoys spoiling his new BFF.
Hungry, hungry, hungry.
Giving him the run of the trailer and bringing him back crawdaddies and grits from the local barbecue joint.
Oh, before you get fat as a tick, Little sweet tea for my sweet Pookie.
Y'all got a 6?
Go fish.
You don't have a 6. 6, it looks like this.
Yeah, I know what a 6 looks like, Carl. Go fish.
Come on there, you got a 6. Let me
Carl.
see that.
Hey, get your mitts up, man.
Whoa! Hey, Big Daddy, no!
Big Daddy is ferociously loyal to Lester, attacking anyone who seems to be a threat to him, even a friend.
But you said that was a lovebird.
He is a lovebird. He's in love with me.
That's protective, all right. I've worked with some scary dudes over my career, and even I would be afraid if Big Daddy was coming at me.
Whew. Beer?
Beer.
Beer?
Beer.
Hey, buddy, how are you? Yes.
When Lester starts hanging out with a couple of guys from his crew,
Right.
Big Daddy is very jealous.
Relaxation.
Cheers.
Indeed. Oh, oh, oh. You don't like you up, Hey, come on, stop talking my bird. Big Daddy, you leave him alone now. Come on. He can smell your fear. That's the problem.
Looks like these guys don't pass the Big Daddy test, and we all know animals have that sixth sense, and if they don't like you, there's usually a good reason.
Jesus, what's the matter with that thing?
Memphis over here just got back from 2 years in the big house for drug possession, and Billy Ray's never met a brawl he didn't like. If there's a bar fight in Lynette, there's a good chance he's at the center of it. What I don't understand is why Lester, the gentle giant, is hanging out with these deadbeats. It feels like he's asking for trouble, but he seems happier than a dead pig in the sunshine. For those of us not from the South, that means he's naive and more than willing to stay that way.
Bottoms up, fellas.
Yep.
Yeah! Let's have another! Come on!
Hey, Jimbo. Guys, this is my cousin Jimbo. These are the guys.
Another!
Ignore him, he's already cork high and bottle deep.
Come on! Another round! Let's go! About time.
Yeah, sugar.
Another round.
Turns out our gentle giant is an angry drunk. Well, that came out of nowhere.
I think you've had more than enough for tonight, sweetheart.
I'm talking to you, Chicky Poo.
Given the way Lester's acting, it seems like he has a problem. And from what I've witnessed, alcoholism can create a real personality split. So while he's little Nicky when he's sober, he turns full-on Happy Gilmore once the booze is flowing.
Another round.
Oh, bless your sweet picking little heart.
All right, leave it alone.
Just as drinking releases the anger in Lester, the holidays bring out his sense of joy.
Well, don't look at me like that. It ain't one of your relatives.
Every year, he cooks the turkey for his Christmas Day dinner with his few close friends. This time, he's going all out with a deep-fried turducken.
We'll have us festive time.
When your best friend's a bird, holiday meals are hard. I'd suggest switching to a Christmas ham, but with Lester's collection of animals, he's probably got a pet pig tied out back.
Oh, hey, come on in.
When Lester and his turducken don't arrive for dinner, his friend Carl gets worried.
Lester? Where you at? Big Daddy?
Of course Lester's friends are worried about him. I mean, the guy never showed up for his favorite day of the year. That's pretty odd, especially when you're the one bringing the turducken.
Rise and shine, drunkie. Come on, boy, don't you be playing possum with me now. Come on, Lester, get up.
After years of dealing with Lester's drinking, Carl's convinced his friend has simply gotten lit up like a Christmas tree and passed out.
Come on, boy, I'll tuck you in snug as a bug in a rug.
Carl doesn't want to leave until he takes care of his friend Lester.
Lester! 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 Oh, Lester! Betsy, this is Carl. Yeah, I'm out at Lester's place. I need a doctor. I'm gonna need deputy as well. Mess out here. It's not good.
Detective Peacock arrives on the scene. She's known for her no-nonsense attitude and her love of taxidermy. It doesn't take Detective Peacock long to establish that Lester's been strangled to death. But he's not the only victim. His beloved pet lovebird, Big Daddy, is also dead.
Oh no, not Big Daddy. I mean, it's weird that after seeing so many murders, animals being killed still gets to me. I guess there's a little animal lover inside all of us, even my cold, cynical heart.
With no sign of forced entry and Lester's television missing, Detective Peacock thinks she might be looking at a robbery gone wrong.
But what doesn't fit is the fact that this robber has ransacked the whole place, but only took the TV. And why kill Big Daddy? To strangle a guy, then kill his pet seems personal. I think we're looking for someone with a score to settle with Lester.
While Lester's cause of death is clear, Big Daddy's is less obvious. So Detective Peacock wants an autopsy.
A bird autopsy, that's a new one. What's next? Are they gonna lay separate charges, try the case with an all-avian jury? I bet if the killer's found guilty, he'll be tarred and feathered.
Blood found on Big Daddy's claws leads Detective Peacock to her first major break at the crime scene.
Lester was strangled, so we know he wasn't bleeding. Big Daddy doesn't seem to be bleeding, which means the blood could only belong to our killer.
While Detective Peacock waits for the DNA report from the blood samples, a local preacher's wife calls in with a tip.
Thank you.
The same car has been parked at a convenience store since Christmas Day. When Detective Peacock runs the plates, she discovers the car belongs to Lester.
My.
When Detective Peacock searches the car, she discovers blood on the door and cigarette butts in the ashtray.
That's weird because Lester doesn't smoke, and I don't know many non-smokers who have cigarette butts in their ashtray. Here's my problem with this killer. Everything he does is almost smart, but then he doesn't follow the idea through. Like, he steals the car, which does shore up the robbery gone wrong idea, but then he dumps it somewhere easy to find and leaves a ton of evidence in it. It's almost like he wants to be caught. But if so, here's what you should do. Just turn yourself in.
Detective Peacock sends samples of the blood and cigarettes from the car to the lab for DNA and fingerprint testing. As those tests are being run, Detective Peacock calls Lester's friend Carl in for questioning.
Now, I assume you've known Lester for a while?
Lester and I have known each other many, many years.
Colorful guy, as I hear.
He was colorful, to say the least. He was multicolored, that character.
Interesting. A whole spectrum. You know anyone who'd want to tie a knot in Lester's tail? Or his birds?
Of course. All kinds. Lester had a way of being a fly in people's ointment. You know what I'm saying?
It turns out Lester's drunken exploits have earned him a number of enemies.
And yourself, ever had any problems with Lester?
Yeah. Lester took a run at me a couple of times there.
But are you saying that you'd have reason and maybe want him dead? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that at all. Now. Don't you to be jumping to any conclusions there, missy, and pulling this New York City crap on me there.
All right, I'm listening.
There was a bunch of new people hanging around. Roofers.
Carl reveals that Lester's been having problems with one group of people, his roofing crew.
These guys have all done time. Real bad seeds. Know what I'm saying?
And worst seed of all, good old Memphis. He's gotten into it with Lester over money and was caught stealing from him multiple times. As far as I'm concerned, that makes him a prime suspect.
Well, I don't know nothing about no murder. I mean, even if I did, I ain't telling no pig.
'Cause nothing makes you look more innocent than attacking the police for doing their job.
You got an alibi for the night in question, hotshot?
Duck hunt.
I see. So killing birds really deals you a pickle then. You got an alibi to confirm this?
The ducks.
You can be all sweet and cooperate, or I can load you into a cell for the night. It's your choice.
My mother's gun club. Seniors with shotguns.
I'll check into this. In the meantime, don't leave town.
When Detective Peacock contacts the club,
Oh, he was there?
she learns that Memphis's alibi is solid and that he can't hit the side of a barn with a bullet.
Who would kill Lester? And his bird? What do you think?
With Memphis eliminated as a suspect, Lester's case stalls.
Detective Peacock here.
I know who murdered that Lester guy and his little bird.
Who is this?
Detective Peacock convinces the tipster who called in about Lester and Big Daddy's murders to come down to the station.
Anybody again? They were in the bar, hooping and hollering and celebrating something.
All right.
And, oh, that winged monster's never gonna bother anyone again.
Turns out, Billy Ray and Jimbo have been drinking and bragging about having gotten rid of Lester and Big Daddy.
Were you aware of any bad blood or any past history?
I mean, look, everyone at that bar says one of them cousins did it.
So that would be Jimbo or Billy Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Hoping to figure out which cousin committed the double homicide, Detective Peacock calls Billy Ray down to the station.
Thanks for coming in. I'm Detective Peacock. All right. Now, why would I be hearing that you got something to do with Lester and Big Daddy's murders?
Don't know. But what I can tell you is that whoever told you all that has only got one oar in the water. I was having Christmas dinner at my mama's place.
You got anyone to confirm that?
Jimbo was there. I tell you, I ain't no lying dog.
We got a tip that Billy Ray or Jimbo killed Lester and Big Daddy. But now Billy Ray is using Jimbo as his alibi. Something smells fishy, and it's not Big Daddy's old crawdaddies.
Determined to crack Billy Ray's alibi, Detective Peacock brings Jimbo in for questioning.
Sir, there is no smoking in here.
Why you got an ashtray?
I like turtles. Please put it out. Now, Billy Ray says y'all were together the night of the murder.
Billy Ray's right. We were together all night.
Mm-hmm. Why do you look like 10 miles of dirt road?
Bar fight. I won.
Yeah, well, it sure don't look like it.
Okay, we know Lester's killer was bleeding in the trailer the night of the murder. And now we got Jimbo showing up with all these injuries, which, to me, look more like he got mauled by a wild animal than won a bar fight. If I was a betting man, I'd say, to use a southernism, that Jimbo's trying to pee on our legs and tell us it's raining.
While cousins Billy Ray and Jimbo deny any involvement in the Lester and Big Daddy double homicide, they agree to provide police with DNA samples and fingerprints.
I'm not saying I don't want to help you catch Lester's killer or nothing, but all this is about as useful as tits on a bull.
You want me to floss now?
When the DNA and fingerprint results come in, they show no match to Memphis, but tie Billy Ray to the cigarettes and Jimbo to the blood in Lester's car and trailer.
I have no words. These guys just handed police the evidence to tie them to Lester the night of the murder. And hey, I'll take a match any way I can get one. I'm just saying it's a good thing that most criminals are this dumb, or else some of us over at the FBI would have been out on our ears.
I didn't do this. I swear it was Jimbo.
You got the wrong guy here. You should be looking at Billy Ray.
Blood may be thicker than water, but only when things are cool, it seems. Once they start getting hot, that blood thins real fast, at least when it comes to these two winners.
We are charging you and your cousin with the murder of Lester and Big Daddy.
I was there that night, but I didn't kill nobody. It was all Billy Ray.
Oh, that's so?
I got no reason to want to cream Lester's corn, not like Billy Ray.
Jimbo is ready to flip on his cousin, for the right immunity deal, of course. Jimbo reveals that Billy Ray recently got caught ripping Lester off.
You better give your heart to Jesus, boy, because your butt is mine.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
What, just because I took a couple of bucks from you, gave myself a little advance?
Big Daddy, he don't like your tone.
Turns out Lester caught Billy Ray withdrawing large sums from petty cash.
We know there was a fight. And Jimbo said you did it. You killed Lester.
No. I might have gone to his place. We might have had a fight, but we had a couple of beers and we sorted ourselves out.
Billy Ray has a very different ending to the story.
Now listen, this what's gonna happen. You are gonna work for me for free until we're good and squared up. Or maybe I'll just call the coppers. Your choice.
Fine. Sometimes you make my ass itch, Lester.
Yeah, well, you make me scratch worse than poison oak.
Oh, get us another round. Put it on me. Hey, why do I need to go and kill a man when everything's all sorted?
I don't know. Why would you?
Well, this is a tough one. Jimbo's right that Billy Ray has bad blood with Lester, but Jimbo's got a lot of cuts and his blood is in the trailer. So what do you do when you're trapped in a he said, he said? Well, you go back to your witnesses, of course.
What are your findings, Doc?
The victim has a cranial cerebral injury caused by blunt force trauma.
Anything else?
Most importantly of all, however, Dr. Herod reports that during the autopsy, he discovered blood on Big Daddy's beak and claws. And once again, the DNA matches Jimbo.
What kind of bird is this anyway?
That is a lovebird. It's a part of the parrot family.
You don't say.
Yeah, people like to buy them in pairs, but Big Daddy here was flying solo. Poor guy.
Big Daddy was so protective that he'd go after anyone attacking Lester. Jimbo's pecked and clawed up, so obviously he was Big Daddy's target. You know, when Jimbo says we should have seen the other guy in this bar fight, I thought that was because the other guy was in worse shape. Not that he was a bird.
I just want to let you know, Jimbo ruled over Anya. He said he'd rat you out for a deal. But I think we both know who the real killer is.
Jimbo's betrayal is Billy Ray's breaking point. Billy Ray admits that the night of the murder, he went to Lester's trailer under the guise of spreading Christmas cheer.
Lester, part time.
All right, happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Lester.
Billy Ray knew Lester would never turn down free booze.
Go have us a party.
Hey. Big one for the big man.
Big Daddy likes a teapot. Keeps his claws warm.
Well, cheers that. Let me get you one more there, Lester. Come on.
Oh, boy.
Come on.
We gotta pace ourselves, boys.
We are.
It's not even
Fast-paced. Come here.
Christmas evening.
Once the cousins got Lester good and plastered, they got down to business.
Hey, you know, Lester, I want to talk business. You owe me for all that work I've been doing for you.
Let me get this straight. Billy Ray defrauds Lester by dipping into the petty cash. Then, when he's partway through working off the money he's stolen, he decides that Lester's ripping him off and needs to give him back pay for the work he's done. Well, that just might be the definition of brazen.
I don't work for nothing, you know.
You serious? Oh, I should know. You know, I never should have hired a bunch of townies. Y'all are about as useless as a steering wheel on a mule. You know, maybe I should just go call the coppers. Have them chuck you back in the joint where you belong.
You shut your mouth up about my cousin, boy.
Go! Go!
Grab the turkey, Jimbo. Turkey. Come on, Jimbo. Come on.
Despite Big Daddy's sacrifice, he's unable to save his owner.
Oh, please. Get Big Daddy to a vet. You can kill me. Just get him the help he needs.
Turns out Jimbo's motive was defending his cousin's reputation. The problem with hotheads like Billy Ray and Jimbo is that they go straight from 0 to 60, so something as simple as defending someone's honor can easily turn deadly, especially when you've got a button pusher like a drunken Lester around.
Looks like you and your bird are going the way of the dodo. Whoa!
As the adrenaline of the fight fades away,
Quick, grab that. Mess up the place a bit.
Billy Ray and Jimbo get focused on saving themselves.
Come on, scary.
So it doesn't surprise me at all that Dumb and Dumber over there have this brilliant brainwave about making the killings look like a robbery gone wrong. But in their hazy state, all they manage to do is create a fake robbery gone wrong.
Billy Ray and Jimbo are both convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
Can't believe that stupid bird put us here.
Stupid bird. You're the one who killed my boss in his own place and left your blood all over her, were?
Turns out Lester's love of animals continues after his death. He leaves all of his money to the Humane Society. Animals have a big impact on Jimbo, too. He's nicknamed Tweety in prison in honor of his lovebird scars. Sure, that worked out well. It goes to show you, never go up against a lovebird when, as the Southerners say, you ain't got the sense of a goose.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, when two wealthy retirees looking to help the homeless
This is your new home, Frank.
I'm not sure what to say, man.
take a vagrant under their wing, it seems like a win-win situation for everybody.
Plus some pocket money for walking tickles now and then.
But when a dead body turns up the victim of a hit and run, investigators wonder, is this a tragic accident? Or do they have something far more sinister on their hands? Attention, please. The Dainty Dames lawn bowling team needs a third to fill in Saturday. See Ruth at the desk.
So, I said, Jimmy, not in the green room.
Oh. The last time you told that one, it was Mick, not Jimmy.
Jimmy, Mick, you've seen one, you've seen them all.
It's Tuesday, and that means movie night. Folks, tonight, Heaven Can Wait with Warren Beatty.
Well, we have other plans tonight. Now, don't we, Pete? Besides, there's only so much of that scoundrel Mr. Beatty one can take.
Speak for yourself, Flo.
Flo and Bee are two old friends who live together at the Spring in Your Step retirement village. It's an upscale, exclusive retirement community on Florida's Atlantic coast.
Good boy, Tickles. We won't be out long.
They're an unlikely pair. Flo's a former dog breeder from an established family. Years ago, her husband died suddenly, leaving her some insurance money.
I don't know.
Where's my lighter?
Oh, you're not lighting that in here.
Well, you gotta die sometime, so you might as well make the best of it.
Bee is an aging flower child who had a successful career promoting rock and roll bands. Their paths crossed in the 70s when one of Bee's rock and roll clients needed a dog groomer. Despite their different backgrounds, they hit it off and became the best of friends. It was fun at first in the retirement home, but they couldn't shake the feeling that they were still young at heart and deserved a more exciting retirement. When Flo and Bee aren't playing cribbage or golfing, they spend a few nights a month at the homeless shelter, lending a hand to the less fortunate.
Gentlemen and lady, last week we talked about dressing for success.
And from the look of things, we can tell that you've taken our advice.
So tonight, we're going to cover some more basics, starting with this little pearl of wisdom. A penny saved is a penny earned. Just look at us.
When I retired from the FBI, my wife thought I'd go crazy, with nothing to do, no bad guys to catch, and no crime scenes to work. Luckily for both of us, I spent a lot of time in the garage with my classic car collection. Did I say classic? I mean old. But let's face it, for a lot of retirees, life can get pretty monotonous. And these two dames are no exception. For them, mixing it up means amusing themselves with some charity work, and their generosity extends way beyond giving life lessons and slinging beans down at the shelter.
This is your new home, Frank. What do you think?
I'm not sure what to say, ma'am. This is also generous.
Oh, well, it's just like we said, Frank. We just know when somebody deserves a second chance. You said you used to be a writer, so this is your lucky day.
Now you can write all you want, but let's start with a little signature, shall we? Then we can add you to our Modest Arts Foundation as a member.
Well, what is this?
Just some routine paperwork stating that we're your landlords, but we pay all the bills and rent, plus some pocket money for walking tickles now and then.
That's what I call a generous offer. Walk my dog and you can write the great American novel. Now, far be it from me to cast doubt on the kindness of strangers, but it can be a risky business. As an investigator, I'm telling you that trusting old ladies like Flo and Bee are among the most vulnerable people out there, and the bad guys know it. Their intentions might be good, but for sketchy dudes like Frank, they're also the perfect mark.
Almost 2 years after Frank signs the agreement, police find his lifeless body in an empty parking lot. Detective Carey catches the case. Security camera footage confirms that Frank was killed by a driver who fled the scene. But the license plate is invisible, and the make of the car isn't clear.
As investigators, we don't like hit-and-run situations. People who commit them are the worst sort of cowards, and they sometimes get away with it because, like with this case, there's often no witnesses, no tags, no make of car if it doesn't leave any body parts behind, just a human body and some skid marks. And Frank has no ID on him. He's just another homeless guy whose life got tossed away. Sadly, he's forced to shelve the case as an accident until some hard evidence saying otherwise turns up.
A week after Frank's body is discovered, Detective Carey gets a visit from an insurance company investigator named Charles.
Hey, my premiums are already paid in full, and double indemnity comes with the job. Just ask my wife.
I already did, Detective, but that's not why I'm here. Your hit and run has been ID'd, Detective.
Go on.
A pair of elderly ladies, it seems, called the police when their 10 didn't show up to walk the dog. They were then directed to the coroner.
The dog?
Yes, the dog.
A standard life insurance policy has a maturation period of 2 years, after which any claims are generally not investigated. But Frank's policy was just 2 days shy of maturing when he was killed, which means Charles is obligated to investigate the manner of Frank's death.
You know, us detectives are no strangers to the insurance world. After all, life insurance is one of the main reasons people whack each other. But adjusters like Charles rarely get directly involved in police investigations, and Detective Carey doesn't know how this guy can help him find whoever ran down Frank.
The toxicology report shows alcohol and a sedative in Frank's system.
You know, most hit and runs, they take damage in the lower body, but Frank was hit in the chest. He must have been lying on the ground the whole time. Driver likely didn't even see him. This dude had insurance.
Yeah, he had a $3 million life insurance policy.
For a homeless guy. Holy shit.
Mr. Bob Reno was not homeless, Detective, I assure you.
So here we have a homeless guy who wasn't really homeless, and it turns out he's worth millions to a pair of little old ladies. Now, down at the Bureau, that's what we'd call a big red flag.
Charles reveals that Frank was a down-on-his-luck writer who was rescued from the streets by 2 retirees named Flo and Bee. Not only had they set him up with a place to live, but according to the insurance documents, Flo has a little dog walking business, so they gave him a job too.
Free apartment and easy job. It's a pretty sweet deal, right? Pretty sweet for everybody, because Frank didn't have just one insurance policy. He had a whopping 10. That's why he was worth so much as a dead man. And the beneficiaries? Oh, come on. You've guessed by now.
That's him.
him. That's our Frank. Poor man, how awful.
To trigger the insurance policies, Flo and Bee have to claim Frank's body. But because Frank's death is ruled an accident, the medical examiner has no reason to notify Detective Carey that he's been identified.
Carey.
But then, Carey gets a call from a detective from a different department who tells him he's heard about his case. It sounds a lot like another hit-and-run incident the other detective caught about 5 years back.
That's strange. Send me over the file. I'll have a look at it. Yeah. Okay, thanks, buddy.
The woman, Pearl Asner, was killed by a hit-and-run driver, struck in an almost identical manner as Frank. The case was never investigated, but two elderly ladies who weren't related to the victim picked up the insurance payout. It was unusual, but at the time, not suspicious. Armed with this new information, Detective Carey and Charles team up. Charles discovers that when she was killed, Pearl was living at the same apartment where Frank later lived, the apartment belonging to Flo and Bee. Like Frank, Pearl had also been homeless before meeting the two ladies. And when Pearl was killed, Flo and Bee had collected on the life insurance to the tune of $500,000.
Two homeless people suddenly worth a fortune? Well, that's quite a coincidence. And if you've heard me before, you know detectives don't believe in coincidences. But even though the investigators now suspect Flo and Bee are behind a sick and twisted insurance scam, there's no evidence tying them directly to the actual murder. All they know for sure is that the nice ladies helped out Frank and insured him. And those aren't crimes. Yeah, the whole thing looks highly suspicious, but it doesn't matter what it looks like. The question is, will they be able to prove anything? Or are these grifting grannies getting away with murder?
Would you like something to drink?
No.
No drink, but would you like a homemade hemp seed cupcake?
No.
Well, it's just such a shame about our dear Frank, isn't it, my good man? But I'm sure all our paperwork is in order.
I'm afraid there is a slight problem.
I beg your pardon, what problem might that be?
Well, there's an investigation going on into Frank's death. So you ladies might not be getting the money now or ever.
Ever?
I gotta go.
Thank you for coming. Bye-bye. God damn it, this is an outrage.
Now what do we do? They can't trace anything back to us, can they?
Oh, shut up and let me think.
I don't want to go to jail.
Stop talking. If they knew anything, we'd already be in jail. But we better find someone else or we're gonna go broke before you know it. Get dressed. We're going down to the shelter. Now.
Can you believe this? Our ladies are on the cops' radar, and they still think they can pull another fast one. And that's pretty bold, and that's pretty dumb. But Flo's right. Investigators can't prove anything yet, or else Flo and Bee would be doing the perp walk right now instead of heading to the shelter. They figure, why not? They can't bust them for being kind to the homeless, can they?
Detective Carey follows Flo and Bee around for the next few days. He's certain they're looking for another victim.
Well, you seem to be having a rough day, young man.
But maybe we can help him out. What do you think, Flo?
I think we most certainly can. What's your name, sweetie?
Phil. 3 p.m. Looks like our suspects are making a new friend.
Going undercover is all about blending in. And even though Detective Carey has an advantage because our ladies have never met him, there's always a chance they'll smell something fishy. Crooks are like that. They have this kind of built-in cop detector, so the detective has to be extra careful. If Flo and Bee realize they're under surveillance, they might bolt.
Well, now, what do we have here? Give me a second. Oh.
There's still nothing concrete linking Flo and B to Frank's hit and run, so they can't bring them in on murder charges. But they need to bring them in on something.
Okay. Thank you. Detective, we just caught a break. There is no dog business registered in Flo's name. So technically, Frank wasn't an employee.
So what? What does that mean?
Well, it means that Flo lied through her teeth on the insurance application. I know it might not sound like a big deal lying about a dog walking business, but when this little itsy-bitsy lie is put on an insurance form, which is then mailed to the insurance company via the United States Postal Service, it becomes a very big deal indeed. And it's federal. It's called mail fraud. I guess the gals didn't think that one through, did they?
Don't forget, it's hot yoga day today, folks. So limber up and boogie down to our brand new studio.
Oh my God.
Hot yoga, huh? That sounds exciting.
Are you a policeman?
I'm afraid you're under arrest for mail fraud on charges relating to a dog walking service of yours.
Oh, well, this is exciting.
B, we're being arrested.
You have the right to remain silent.
The arrests send a shockwave through the spring-in-your-step retirement village. The news that Flo and B are fraudsters is hard to believe.
Present you by the court.
By busting Flo and B for mail fraud, Detective Carey can also question them about the hit and run that killed Frank.
What's all this fuss about, Detective? Honestly, do we look like crooks?
You seem such a sweet, smart young man. And so handsome, isn't he, Flo?
Handsome, handsome. Oh, this is all your fault, you imbecile.
Don't you start on me, you old bat.
Oh.
The mail fraud charges are enough for Detective Carey to get a search warrant for Flo and B's apartment. Carey finds some very intriguing items. What looks like a license plate number on the sticky note, and a driver's license that doesn't belong to either of them. Detective Carey discovers that the license was reported stolen a month ago.
Bingo. Take a look at this.
And the license plate tag number on the sticky note traces to a local car rental company.
Seems like our light-fingered ladies didn't do too much to cover their tracks. You'd think they'd be more careful, but it's surprisingly common for crooks to make careless mistakes when they think they're getting away with something. As it is, their house is a treasure chest of incriminating evidence, like a signature stamp with Frank's old John Hancock, a stolen license, a tag. They might as well have drawn our detective a map with X marking the spot.
The rental company confirms that the two old ladies returned the car with a damaged grille, the same night Frank was killed. Detective Carey sees what looks like blood on the front grille. He swabs it and will send it to forensics for DNA testing.
I guess they should have gone to the car wash. It's obvious that Flo and B mowed down Frank. But what would motivate these two old biddies to kill and then cash in? They could easily afford to live in a place like spring-in-your-step retirement village. So why? For thrills? Could they really be that bored? Or maybe they're not as flush as they're making themselves out to be.
Detective Carey knows he has a pair of killers in his custody. He's hoping that if he applies some pressure, he can get them to confess.
What's all this fuss about, Detective? Surely a little fib about a dog walking business doesn't warrant a jail cell. How awful, that poor lovely man.
The lab results show that the blood on the car grille matches Frank's DNA.
Can you explain to me how this poor man's blood ended up all over the car that you two rented? Jig's up, ladies. If you know what's good for you, you'll start talking.
You've got us.
Oh, shut up! Shut up, you fool!
Shut up yourself, Flo. You were the one that started it anyway.
Oh, you're such an imbecile.
We have some very special guests tonight, folks. Backed by popular demand all the way from sunny California, it's Captain and Tennille. They're gonna do it for us one more time.
Oh, I just love it. But it's so expensive, Flo. I can't afford this. Maybe we can find some other place. That place down in Boca.
Oh, not a chance. I'm not spending my sunset years in some shanty town surrounded by the sunburned hoi polloi. This is the place.
We've got to be realistic. We're retired.
Oh, I'm being realistic, all right. Don't you worry. I have a very realistic retirement plan for both of us.
It only stretches so far, you know. Your savings, your pension, your husband's life insurance.
Bee tells investigators that she and Flo just didn't have enough money saved for retirement. Not if they wanted to live in a place like Spring in Your Step.
So the prospect of trading down didn't appeal to either of them, especially not to Flo, who's obviously the brains of the operation. I guess there are weirder motives out there. But anyway, when Flo's husband died, she'd learned a few things about how life insurance works, and she came up with a plan to make the rest of her retirement as comfortable as possible. But she couldn't do it on her own. The scam was more convincing with a sidekick like Bee.
It's a simple plan. Take in and insure a homeless person no one will miss. They die in an accident.
But $500,000, I mean, that doesn't keep you in the lap of luxury for long. Not if you're these gals. So with Frank, they didn't stop at just one insurance policy.
Are you sure about this?
Don't worry. This little stamp is going to make us rich.
Once they had Frank's signature, they could take out as many policies as they liked from different companies. As long as the monthly premiums were paid, no one asked any questions. They just had to wait 2 years for the policies to mature.
And I can't remember if it was Jimmy or Mick.
And once they thought those 2 years were up, Flo and Bee set to work.
Would you like another?
Or Jimmy.
Oh, not again. Oh. Heard that story so many times.
He's out. He's out. Let's go.
I knew we should have gone to Pilates last week.
Just help me up, would you?
Bee, come on!
Go, 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 go!
Put your seatbelt on right this minute.
Flo and Bee tried to get away with murder and get a huge payout. But they made a critical mistake.
All right. Okay, come on, let's do it. All right, go, go. All right.
Okay.
But we screwed up the timing. The insurance wasn't mature. So they sent this investigator.
You screwed up the timing, not we. That was your job, you imbecile.
My job? You said you would keep track. Oh, you think you're so smart.
Flo and Bee are convicted on insurance fraud charges and Frank's murder. They get life without parole, and their sentences are to be served in the same prison.
I can't believe this.
You can't believe this.
You better watch your back in the food line.
Well, you better make sure I'm insured first, you old crone. We could have been sitting in Boca by now.
Oh.
They say you're never too old to try new things, and it turns out that's just as true for grifting and murder as it is for, say, lawn bowling. Flo and Bee looked like your typical harmless old ladies enjoying a golden sunset. But beneath those peace and love moo-moos, Bee was a limousine liberal who didn't want to travel coach in her old age. So she hitched a ride with Flo. And Flo herself, well, that blue blood of hers ran ice cold when it came to living the good life. She'd never trade that Gucci bag for a cheap knockoff. And as for the hapless victim, he too thought he'd landed in the lap of luxury. He didn't realize he was just a cash cow being fattened up for the slaughter, one premium at a time. You know, there are easier ways to fund that retirement, folks.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, Jesus works hard to make ends meet in Mexico
I wish you could follow your heart.
until he rolls the dice on a move to Vegas
2 lottery tickets. Atta boy.
and hits the jackpot.
I can take care of you now, Mama.
But in Sin City,
I'll take the fault for the right price.
You can do that, right?
there's always a devil waiting to make your life go bust.
No, please. I'm talking to him.
You're ripping me off just like everybody else.
Living in one of Mexico's poorest regions, Jesus and his adoring mother, Esperanza, spend their days struggling to make ends meet.
Okay. Jesus, tortillas.
Momento, Mama. It's for you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, ciao.
Life may be hard, but Jesus finds joy in his passion for magic.
Hey, Ma. Show you a trick. Pick a card.
No.
There. Put your hand on it.
Okay.
Okay. Look.
Increíble, Jesus. You're such a talent. I wish you could follow your heart.
Actually, I could. Remember Alejandro?
Jesus' childhood friend from the barrio, Alejandro, moved to Las Vegas 2 years ago and recently offered to help Jesus join him.
I'm not going without you, Mama. Te quiero.
For a year, Jesus saves every penny so that his dream of moving to Las Vegas with his mother can come true. But when it happens, the reality is nothing like he imagined.
Ay caramba, eh, Jesus? We gotta clean up all this crap. What you see here, don't go running off at the mouth like those cleaning ladies, all right? Comprende?
Yeah, Tom.
Unable to read and write English, Jesus is forced to take the only job he can as a post-party cleaner for major hotel chains on the Vegas Strip.
Boy, I sure would like to meet the gal that fills this one out. Hey, think fast.
After a 12-hour shift, Jesus is about to catch the first of 3 buses to take him home to the tiny apartment he shares with Esperanza, when Tom offers him a ride.
I'm going into the corner store to get some liquor. You want anything? Gum? candy, mints,
The lottery
soda.
tickets.
2 lottery tickets. Atta boy, Pedro, you're getting into the Vegas vibe.
This is lottery tickets.
2 tickets today. Best friends with my bookie by the end of the month.
I'm with Jesus on this one. Give me a job with a stable paycheck and a good retirement plan any day. But I'm boring like that. When my friends drag me out to the casino, they play the tables while I head straight for the buffet, because the only thing I'm willing to bet on is how fresh the shrimp is.
And this week's winning lotto numbers are 7, 19, 20, 24, 43,
¿Serio?
45, 49.
We won.
Jesus collects a cool $22 million. Jesus uses his newfound wealth to buy his mother a new house and car.
This is beautiful, conejito.
I can take care of you now, Mama.
But when Jesus's family back home learn about his big win, they decide they deserve a cut.
I get that people want to win that big old lottery payout, and hey, I'm human. I imagine what it would be like too sometimes. But my work has taught me that getting rich quick has its downsides. Sometimes what you get is a jackpot of disappointment and trouble.
Jesus's family aren't the only ones trying to get their fingers on his cash.
Get out of my way, Mama Son. Let me at him. I'll talk to him. Let me talk to him first there. Hey, Jesus. I bought that lottery ticket at the corner store fair and square. You owe me half of that money.
Estás loco.
No loco there. There's the check there. Put my name on it. My name's Tom.
Muy loco.
No muy loco there. If you don't write that check, I'm gonna sue you. You know why? Because this is America and I can do that.
Tom, please.
No, please. I'm talking to him, not you.
Tom launches a lawsuit claiming he's entitled to half the winnings. The case is thrown out of court, but Tom's betrayal has already done its damage. Jesus sinks into a deep depression. Assuming everyone he meets is after his money, Jesus starts hiding out in the house, spending day after day on the couch.
It's hard when you see the dark side of people, especially those closest to you. I know it's not the same, but a lot of police officers go through a similar phase after they join the force, because we get to see the worst of human behavior. And that's one of the reasons I retired. Now that I'm home every day, I don't have to deal with the worst of human behavior. My wife does.
Who else wants my money? Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Ellie, and I'm a personal wealth manager specializing in working with recent lottery and casino winners.
Okay.
Your name was passed on to me as a recent winner who might need some financial advice.
Jesus thinks Ellie could be the answer to his prayers and immediately makes an appointment to see her.
Jesus, thanks so much for coming in. So, you've got a lot of people asking you for some money.
Well, pretty much everybody I've known.
Tell me about it.
Ellie gets Jesus to open up about his problems, mainly not being able to turn down anyone who asks him for money.
You put me in charge of your cash, and I'll make sure no one touches a dime. Really, I'm tougher than a pit boss.
What do you do with my money?
Invest it in life settlements.
So there are funds that buy up people's life insurance policies. Then, if that person dies early, the fund gets the payout. Basically, you're playing roulette with lives. Hey, I'll put $20,000 on Jerry down the street to die of a heart attack.
I'm sorry, but I can't read or write in English.
Oh, that's no problem. It's just a standard contract. Nothing to worry about. It's just all legal stuff anyway, so... Right there.
I know Jesus wants this money off his hands, but who hands over millions of dollars to someone they just met? That's not naive, that's insane. You just rolling the dice at that point and hoping you don't crap out.
That's it?
Yeah, perfect.
Over the next few months, Jesus and Ellie become fast friends.
So Pepper. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm thinking of starting my own show as soon as I get all my big tricks down. You think I can saw you in half?
Sure.
Unlike the other people in Jesus' life, Ellie never asks him for cash. Probably because she seems to have no shortage of it.
Sorry, my boyfriend and I were at the dealership looking at new sports cars. What can I do for you?
Well, I want to go traveling with my mom, and I would like to get some money.
The investments I put your winnings in are down. If you withdraw money now, you'll lose a bunch of its value.
Okay.
For someone who seems to be swimming in her own money, Ellie sure can't make a dime for anyone else. And that makes me think she's less focused on helping Jesus than helping herself to his money.
Or you could wait for the investments to rebound.
Jesus may already have gotten a lottery check, but maybe it's time for him to get a reality check and realize Ellie's taking advantage of him.
Hello?
Oh, hi. Is Jesus there?
Esperanza. Jesus told me you might call. He's actually on a magician's retreat, learning how to make buildings disappear and stuff.
And when did he tell you this?
A couple days ago. But I have to go.
Okay.
Looks like Jesus' investments have bounced back after all. But why would a lifelong mama's boy leave town without talking to Esperanza about his trip, or more likely, taking her along?
But when Mother's Day rolls around a few weeks later, Jesus proves he hasn't forgotten about his mama.
Something doesn't add up here. You've got a guy who doesn't read or write in English who's suddenly writing novels over here. Either his retreat involves magically learning new languages, or he didn't write this card. And that tells me Jesus' American dream is turning into a nightmare.
My son is very depressed lately.
Is there any chance he would harm himself?
No, he would never leave his mama. We are mejor amigos.
Concerned about her son, Esperanza files a missing persons report with local police.
This letter, it's written in English, but he does not write in English, only Spanish.
Okay, let me take a look at it, ma'am.
It is not him.
Esperanza also shares the issues Jesus has had with family and friends since his big lottery win, including Tom's lawsuit. Detective Landon calls Tom down to the station to answer a few questions.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
So where you been?
I've been living out of town since the lawsuit ended. I've been off the grid on a medicinal marijuana farm in California. Keyword, medicinal.
Can anyone vouch for that?
Of course. Here's my partner's card. Call him.
Tom's alibi checks out. He's been living in California since the week after the lawsuit was settled. When Esperanza tells Ellie that Jesus is missing and the police are on the case, she rushes right over.
Hot chocolate? I know you're worried, but Jesus wouldn't want all this fuss. I'm sure there's nothing to worry about. He'll turn up any minute.
Hello?
Mama, it's Jesus.
Conejito, ¿cómo estás? Where are you? I was worried.
Oh, Mama, I'm just away. I need some space.
I'll be back soon.
But where exactly are you?
Jesus tells Esperanza he has to run, but assures her he's fine and to call off the investigation.
Jesus? Hello, Jesus? Oh, that sorts that out.
Oh, would you look at that? Jesus just happened to call when Ellie was there, and right after she learned about Esperanza talking to the police. Isn't that such a coincidence? And you know how I feel about coincidences. Between that and Ellie's cavalier attitude, I think she's working Esperanza, which tells me she knows more than she's letting on.
I know Mijo's voice. That wasn't my son on the phone.
Detective Landon discovers the call from Jesus can be traced back to his childhood friend.
Do you know who Alejandro is?
See, Alejandro is our friend, Jesus' best friend. He made it possible for us to come to America.
I brought you in today to talk about Jesus.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Before Detective Landon can question Alejandro, he cracks.
I pretended to be Jesus, okay? But only to help.
Alejandro tells Detective Landon that Jesus asked for a favor.
He can finally practice his magic in peace, so he needs you to call Esperanza so she doesn't worry about him while he's away.
Okay, what?
Just give her a call and let her know everything's all right.
According to Ellie, the best way Alejandro can help his childhood compadre is pretending to be him.
Now that's a bizarre request. If Jesus is so happy on his travels, why does he need someone to pretend to be him? And why doesn't he just call the police and tell them he doesn't want to be found? Sounds to me like Ellie's bluffing Alejandro here, but she'll never tell.
Of course, Jesus wants to make sure you're taken care of for helping him.
Okay, what do I do?
It's amazing how people's morals and views can change once there's money on the table. The more cash, the more flexible people become. And Ellie's got enough money to make Alejandro bend over backward for her.
When Detective Landon looks into Ellie's past, he discovers she's no stranger to law enforcement. A few years earlier, she was busted for selling fake casino chips to gullible tourists. The scam may have earned her a tidy profit, but it also cost her a year in prison.
Ellie's like the local casinos, glitzy on the outside with promises of wealth, happiness, and those fuzzy drinks served in plastic flamingos. What? I like fuzzy drinks. You can't judge me. Anyway, I know Ellie's kind. Underneath that shiny exterior lives the smarts of a pit boss, mixed with the cutthroat wiliness of a desert coyote.
You're gonna pretend to help Ellie.
Detective Landon hatches a plan to turn Ellie's scheming back on her, but it hinges on Alejandro's acting chops.
Get close to her. Record everything she says on this.
Well,
why are you up under your shirt?
No, you can't. Ellie hugs. She'll feel it.
Turns out Alejandro is a regular MacGyver, transforming Detective Landon's jumbo-sized pop cup into a recording device.
Yeah?
Okay.
Ellie thinks she's holding all the cards, but she doesn't realize that police are like the house. With enough time, we always win.
Come in. take a seat.
Okay, here.
Just working on my fishing lures, but you're welcome to join me.
Of course Ellie has a secret love of fishing, and I'm sure she's great at it. I mean, after all, she has lots of experience getting her hooks in.
I brought you these. Esperanza says you like them.
Thank you.
Determined to find his friend, Alejandro treats buddying up to Ellie as a full-time job.
Listen, Allie, I need a favor. I mean, Jesus does. He's learning too much to come back from his magic retreats. Esperanza's getting worried again. If you could just make a few more calls to her and to some other family and friends, all paid, of course.
Sure. Just tell me when and what to say.
Great. Here's a list. Start at the top and work your way down.
Okay.
Wow, that's one crazy addiction you got going. Maybe you should cut back on the sugar.
Yeah, maybe I should. Hello, Juan?
Have you seen anything suspicious?
I mean, aside from her making me pretend to be my best friend,
After each visit, Alejandro reports his findings and delivers a tape of his conversations to police.
We have to push harder. We need something concrete on her.
I'm gonna need you to make another call to Esperanza. Tell her you're Jesus' bookie Ray.
His bookie?
When someone starts creating fake problems with supposed bad guys, they're usually setting up a fall guy. And most of the time, when you do that, it's because there's a body somewhere. And it's only a matter of time before the truth comes out.
You've already been such a big help to me, Alejandro, and I'm sure you've already figured out Jesus is not coming back.
Wait, what do you mean?
Alejandro, Jesus was killed. But I'll take care of you. Pay your mortgage, take care of your debts, start college funds for your children. I just need you to find someone to take the rap for his murder. You can do that, right?
Of course. Yeah, I can do that.
When Alejandro reports the bombshell that Jesus is dead, Detective Landon decides it's time to go undercover as Mickey.
Do you want to sit?
No.
A hardened criminal with nothing to lose.
So, how do you two know each other?
Church.
Yeah. Going undercover is a great way for us in law enforcement to work a suspect for information. An undercover officer can win a target's trust, getting them to open up. The only problem is if things go south, the target knows you're onto them. And that's why going undercover is like playing poker with high rollers. If you want to win, you got to go all in.
And why do you want to do this?
Listen, I'm facing 35 years for a robbery charge. I'll take the fall for another charge for the right price.
Okay, great.
Mickey agrees to confess to the murder for just $65,000.
So tell me how you did it. Cut the crap. We both know you did it. And I'm not doing this unless you tell me.
Fine.
Ellie claims she invited Jesus over to discuss problems with his investments.
No mames, you're ripping me off just like everybody else.
I really think you're overreacting. You need to calm down. Issues arose with your investments, and I dealt with them the best way that I could. What are you doing?
I'm calling the police. I'm not dealing with this anymore.
That night, she does a little DIY project with Jesus' remains.
So what did I do with the body?
You portioned it and cemented it into a statue.
I portioned it
Yeah?
into a statue.
Yeah.
Where's my murder weapon?
Why?
Not wanting to hinge the police case solely on Ellie's confession, Mickey pushes her further.
I'll have to turn it in when I confess, make him believe it.
Detective Landon knows the stakes in this case are big, but if he can get the knife, that'll be the last card he needs to make a winning hand and take down the Queen of Cons.
Ellie knows Mickey needs the murder weapon to take the fall for killing Jesus, but she doesn't know he's an undercover cop trying to play her.
Ellie thinks she just got off scot-free, but she doesn't realize she handed over the information and evidence police need to prove she killed Jesus. She hasn't just tied up this case for us, she's put a pretty bow on it too.
Unbeknownst to Ellie, Detective Landon now has the evidence he needs to get a warrant to search the garage. There, he finds Jesus's remains encased in concrete. When the autopsy results come in, they show that Jesus has been stabbed multiple times in the abdomen by the knife Ellie handed over to Mickey.
Hi, I'm Ellie.
Take a seat.
Detective Landon confronts Ellie with the findings from Jesus's autopsy.
I know you killed him, Ellie.
I didn't, I swear. There was an angry bookie. His name is Ray. He stabbed Jesus. I wanted to go to the police, but he said if I ever did, he'd kill me too. No thanks, I'm good.
Oh, this isn't a drink. This was holding a tape recorder when you asked Alejandro to say he was Ray, a bookie.
I knew Alejandro was a sneak.
Sure she did. That's why she spilled everything to him. If you ask me, Ellie's just mad because Alejandro tricked her all the time, while the best story she could come up with was an angry bookie. You'd think a Vegas gal could be more creative than that.
Fine, I did it. But I had to. I'll put it all back, I promise.
Just as I thought, Ellie was skimming money out of Jesus's accounts, taking advantage of the fact that he couldn't read or write in English. She thought Jesus was her cash cow until he started asking questions and her big-time con seemed like big-time trouble.
I'm calling the police.
Not willing to go back to jail, Ellie killed Jesus to keep him quiet. She's convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison.
Jesus wanted to live his dream, but he was driven by fear. Instead of taking control of his life when he won the lottery, he practically threw his money and his future at Ellie, just so he didn't have to say no to everyone trying to get their paws on his cash. But the problem with betting on a stranger is that sometimes you win big, and sometimes you find yourself face to face with snake eyes.
The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, Texas is a wild place full of colorful personalities and deadly critters lurking around every dark corner. And when a heinous crime is committed,
well, murdering people ain't that hard.
It's up to a former Texas Ranger to uncover the truth.
Hey, Betty, wake up.
Because things aren't always as they seem
Oh my God, she's not breathing.
in the Lone Star State. It's the summer of 1977, and the town of Lubbock, in the great state of Texas, is one hot place. Former rodeo star Dirk now runs a successful barbershop. Business is good, and he wants to hire a shampoo girl to help out. Betty is a former beauty queen with dreams of making it in Hollywood, but she ran out of money crossing the country.
Are you looking for some help?
Certainly am, darling.
And finds herself stuck in small-town Texas. Betty had the job before she even said hello. And it didn't take long before Dirk and Betty fell for each other.
You ever thought about settling down one day, Betty?
Maybe.
Maybe, eh? How do you like living in Lubbock? Is it your kind of town?
I like it a lot, especially the people.
And when Dirk finally pops the question, Betty says, I do. Before long, the newlyweds settle into married life like a regular Dick and Jane.
Say, Dirk, I'm feeling a little crummy. I gotta go home and rest.
Y'all talk it out today, Betty? All right, I reckon you just go home and take the day to resting.
The next day, Betty remains at home while Dirk works his daily shift at the barber shop.
You just said it ain't even my horse. I don't even know what's going down. Come on, man. Hey, Betty girl, we're home. All right, bring that on the table. Let's do this.
Longhorns better win tonight or I'm in deep on a couple of bets.
Hey, Betty. Betty, you up? All right, let me go check on the old ball and chain, all right?
All right, all right.
Hey, Betty. Hey, Betty, wake up. Dwayne, oh my God, she's not breathing.
Those look like snake bites there, Dirk.
Right, we gotta call an ambulance. How can we get an ambulance?
Detective Harris, a former Texas Ranger, is called to the house because the circumstances surrounding Betty's death are suspicious.
So you boys want to tell me what happened?
Well, found this around back. Betty picks up the trash. Maybe it bit her.
Well, that there is a diamondback. Those are killers.
Maybe that's what got poor old Betty.
Maybe. Maybe.
Throughout my career, I've seen more murder victims than I can shake a Texas stick at. Poor old Betty's death looks accidental, all right. The snake bites that Dirk found could very well be the cause of death. But as Texans like to say, just because a chicken has wings don't mean it can fly. And until the coroner orders an autopsy, we'll just have to wait and see.
The next day, the autopsy report lands on Detective Harris's desk. The coroner finds that Betty's system at the time of death contained large amounts of proteolytic enzymes, more commonly known as rattlesnake venom. And the series of bite marks are identified on her feet and ankles, indicating that she'd been bitten repeatedly by a snake.
Western diamondback rattlesnakes, also known as Texas diamondbacks, are real nasty pieces of work. I've seen them in the flesh, and you do not want to mess with those suckers. Their venom can cause severe paralysis before shutting the cardiovascular system down. They're responsible for the most amount of snakebite fatalities in the US of A.
Searching for new leads, Detective Harris learns that Dirk and Betty's neighbor Jane saw Betty the day she died.
And what time was that at?
It was around 4. She was by the back door. She was taking out the garbage and she was sweeping up.
Dirk was still at the barber shop at 4 p.m. that day, so that gives him an alibi. And the fact that the rattlesnake skin was found at the back door where Betty's neighbor saw her sweeping up makes a logical connection, indicating that's where she was bitten by the snake.
Detective Harris returns to Dirk and Betty's home to determine whether her rattlesnake bites were accidental or something more ominous was going on. The detective discovered an unsent letter written by Betty to her sister on the day before she died. In the letter, she writes about feeling ill, but her life here is great with Dirk, and she can't wait for her sister to come visit.
Betty's death is ruled accidental, and for the investigating cops, it's pretty much case closed and time to crack a cold one. That's beer, y'all.
But Detective Harris has a hunch. There's something hinky about Betty's death, and he continues digging. He learns Dirk was married before, and his first wife also died prematurely.
2 dead wives. Well, that's unfortunate. You want to guess how the first one died? Spider bite. So we've got one dead wife from a spider bite and the other from a snake bite. I mean, if Dirk was a zoologist or something, maybe. But a barber? I don't know. It seems a little weird, no? And by no, I mean yes.
4 years earlier, Dirk came home from the good old San Antonio Rodeo Classic to discover his then-wife Annabelle.
Annabelle.
Lying motionless on the bed.
My lord.
The coroner's report concludes that Annabelle's death is accidental, caused by a southern black widow spider bite. Turns out that Dirk cashed in his first wife's $20,000 life insurance policy and bought himself a Corvette.
Got something for you there. Thank you. Hopefully this will help me get over the loss.
What the insurance company investigating Annabelle's death didn't know was that 2 weeks before her death, she was badly injured in a car accident. But despite the suspicious evidence, the car accident was ruled accidental and never investigated by authorities.
Well, that'll be...
With the information on Dirk's previous wife, Detective Harris is convinced that Betty's death was no accident.
All right, then.
I know times have changed, but come on, guys. A bloody hammer in the car, Annabella bashed up real bad, but Dirk looking perfectly fine, even though he claimed he threw himself clear from the moving vehicle. Obviously, the local authorities should have pursued a thorough investigation. Sloppy police work makes Steve an angry cowboy. So now it's a murder case, and Rodeo Man Dirk, well, y'all, he's the #1 suspect.
While Dirk cuts hair at the barber shop, Detective Harris secretly bugs Dirk's home, hoping to find any evidence that can break the case wide open.
This is where the real magic happens, baby.
Is that the best line you got there, Dirk? You have to do better than that, boy.
Police discover that Dirk is a connoisseur of the oldest profession in the world, with a regular stream of prostitutes visiting him at his home. Armed with the evidence of the prostitutes, police now have enough to bring Dirk in on solicitation charges.
So you like the ladies?
Sure, I guess you could say that.
This is where the real magic happens, baby.
With Dirk in the hot seat, Detective Harris uses the opportunity to question him about the deaths of his 2 ex-wives.
First a spider bite, then a snake bite. That seems like one of those coincidences, don't you think?
Well, no, not really. I mean, there's rattlers all over this place. As a matter of fact, I think we're both pretty lucky that we ain't been bit and killed by one of these snakes already.
Is that so?
Yeah, that's so.
Dirk plays the innocent dumb guy angle to a T. The investigators know he's hiding something and want to nab this guy real bad for murdering Betty. But right now, they need some hard evidence or it's back to haircuts, football, and hookers for Dirk.
Harris brings Jane, the neighbor who was the last person to see Betty alive, back in for another round of questioning.
I don't know why you brought me down here again. I told you everything you needed to know last time.
Is that so? Tell me something, Jane. Why do I get the feeling you ain't giving me the whole picture?
Okay, I'll tell you the truth. Dirk paid me to lie. I really don't know where Betty was the day she died. I don't. I'm sorry.
Now we're cooking with gas. This is the first break in the case and the first piece of evidence against Dirk, but it's still circumstantial. What Harris needs is something conclusive that ties Dirk to Betty's death.
When Harris re-examines Betty's letter to her sister, this time with a focus on her handwriting,
it's all over the place.
He concludes that she was most likely under the influence of alcohol when she wrote it.
So Dirk's alibi is falling apart by the second. We got the corrupted neighbor who offered an alibi for money. Betty's very intoxicated handwriting. I consider both of these discoveries as evidence of a cover-up. The widowed rodeo star who impatiently waits to collect his insurance payout is looking more and more guilty.
Detective Harris meets with the insurance agent who issued the life insurance policy on Betty, hoping to dig something up on Dirk.
This is the policy I issued. He took out Betty's policy within a week of their wedding.
Really? Well, that seems quick.
You can say that.
M is for wrong, motive, which has clearly been uncovered here. Now, that's not to say that all people who take out life insurance for their partners have the motive to murder them. But when you've got a situation with back-to-back policies, both paying out with freak accidents like spider bites and snake bites, then you have got to start connecting the dots.
Meet Maurice.
You know, I was out there at the Robinsons' ranch the other day, looking for critters.
He works in roadkill and pest removal, and is a regular customer at Dirk's barbershop.
You know, I caught this spider the other day, and I took it home. I looked it up in my old encyclopedia, and I think I found a brand new spider. Do you think something like that they would name after me? Maurice the Spider.
Maurice is a heavy drinker and spends most nights at the Dun Inn.
You know, murdering people ain't that hard. No, sirree. My buddy's wife never even saw it coming. It was perfect. Perfect.
Honestly, I mean, this Maurice is a real piece of work. I mean, who gets drunk, starts telling a bunch of strangers about how you helped kill somebody? The perfect murder, no less. Here's a pro tip. It ain't perfect if you tell people about it. There's just no shortage of cold-blooded dummies out there. It never ceases to amaze me.
An anonymous caller from the Dun Inn contacts the police and tells them about Maurice's story.
So what can you tell me about the death of Dirk's wife, Betty?
I really don't know what you're talking about, Detective. I'm telling the truth. You gotta trust me.
Do you know how much time you're gonna get if you're lying to me? Hard time. And I got friends who can make it happen. Let's try this again, Maurice.
I just wanted to help.
Maurice eventually buckles under the pressure and tells the police that he helped Dirk move his dead wife's body to the bedroom, but that he had nothing to do with the poisoning part.
Did someone say poisoning? Well, that's interesting. I thought Betty died from a rattlesnake bite. I don't know. Maybe it's all my years at the FBI talking, but this cowboy Dirk, he's looking guilty as sin. Now they gotta uncover something that'll back Maurice's story up.
Betty's body is exhumed, and a second autopsy is ordered. The authorities want to see if there were any other foreign toxins in her system, other than the venom produced by the Texas diamondback.
Alkyl, dimethyl, benzyl, ammonium chloride, sodium nitrate, rubbing alcohol, blue dye. Blue dye?
Okay, let me think for a second. Where would you find a liquid substance that combined a very strong disinfectant that also included a large quantity of rubbing alcohol and blue dye? Come to think of it, I was at the barber just last week, and I think I saw something that just might fit the bill.
Armed with the results of the second autopsy, the insurance policy, the letter, the next-door neighbor recanting her story, and the statements from Maurice, Detective Harris arrests Dirk for the murder of his wife, Betty. At Dirk's trial, Maurice reveals he did more than just help move the body, and tells the court exactly how Betty died.
So when I go to try and grab this dead possum, look out! This big ugly diamondback was staring right at me. I figured it wasn't worth it. Called it a day and cracked a cold one.
Maurice has plenty of experience with critters, such as rattlesnakes, and it gives Dirk the idea of how he's going to execute the crime.
Yeah, there's a lot of those rattlers around here, aren't there? Say, you wouldn't know where I could buy one of those, would you?
Buy one?
Yeah, you know, like some people, they want to put it in a zoo or something like that, you know?
Oh, well, that's easy. I can get you one of those down by the highway any day.
All right.
You gotta be kidding me. In all my years at the FBI, I have never come across a rattlesnake as a murder weapon. I mean, full marks for originality here, that's for sure. But in terms of an intelligent approach, not so much.
Say, Dirk, I'm feeling a little crummy. I gotta go home and rest.
Y'all tuck it out today, Betty? All right, I reckon you just go home and take the day to rest then.
All right.
When Betty falls ill at work, Dirk decides today is the day to put his plan into action.
Maurice, it's Dirk. It's going down tonight. Betty, I brung you a doctor. Feeling all right? This is Dr. Moore, Dr. Mo.
Howdy, ma'am. How you feeling there? Oh, geez, heard you been laid up?
That's right.
Well, you know what this doctor prescribes? Bourbon. This'll fix you right up.
You ready?
Here you go. Yeah. Tilt her back now. Yeah. There, yeah. That's the good stuff.
Have some more. That's the doctor's prescription.
It's fixing you. Yeah. You're feeling it work. Come on now. Yeah, that's right. There you go. Yeah. Oh, that sucker's angry, man. Oh, boy.
All right, leave some of that for Daddy, all right? All right, take her feet.
Oh, boy. How come it ain't better yet? I think it better.
I think you're right.
So you get her drunk, tie her up in a chair, and put her feet in a box with a rattlesnake. Okay then, points for imagination, I guess. But the million-dollar question is then, why bother using the parasite as a poison if you've already got a deadly rattlesnake that's actually bit her multiple times?
6 hours after being bitten by the rattler, Betty is still alive. For now.
Can't stand it. It's taking too long. I'm gonna go down to the barber shop and I'm gonna get us something that's gonna move this along. You just wait here, all right? All right. Hey, Mo, what happened to the snake?
Oh, I'll find that for you by the time you get back.
Yeah, you better, because we're gonna need that skin for evidence.
Dirk's way of speeding up Betty's slow death is to feed her the paricide he uses at the barber shop.
Worked real well last time.
She's gonna die anyway.
You're not soon enough. You should go get that snake skin, put it around back.
All right.
What we have here is a guy who is panicking because he's impatient. His nerves can't handle the weight, so he reverts to an MO that he's probably used before. The toxic disinfectant that he uses every day at work. I'll bet your bottom dollar that his first wife's spider bite had a little paricide in it as well.
For his part in the crime, Maurice is sentenced to 15 years behind bars. Dirk is found guilty in the murder of his wife Betty and is sentenced to death.
Here's a little dose of irony, Texas style. If Rodeo Man Dirk wasn't so impatient, he probably would have gotten away with murdering his wife Betty. The rattlesnake bites would have eventually proved fatal, and since those nasty suckers are so common in Texas, nobody would have questioned the death. I guess the moral of the story is, patience is a virtue.